Data Analytics and Decision Making. This is Rachel Steele with my final presentation for Management 9450. The strategic business decision that I've chosen is as follows. A small delivery service needs to ensure that the optimal number of delivery drivers are scheduled for each day of the week. Questions to ask during the decision-making process. What are the current shifts of the delivery drivers per day? During those shifts, how many packages on average do each of the drivers deliver per day? How many delivery drivers does the company currently employ? How are the delivery requests generated? Who is generating them? Are they generated manually or through an information system? How many trucks does the company currently have operating? Does the company have different sizes of delivery trucks? How are the delivery routes generated? Some additional questions. How many days per week is the company making deliveries? What technology systems does the company currently use to determine the delivery routes? Over the past 12 to 18 months, how many orders per day have been delivered? Are there certain days in which the company receives a higher volume of orders than other days of the week? How many delivery drivers do the main competitors have? How many deliveries are the main competitors making per day? How does the main competition break down their delivery schedules? Does it differ by days of the week? The main question. Are there certain days in which the company receives a higher volume of delivery requests than other days of the week? So what type of data is needed? There are two types of data needed. The first is categorical, and a couple examples are days of the week and size of the truck. And then we have numerical, which would be the number of deliveries per day, number of trucks, number of drivers, and number of orders. Where will this data be found? To answer the main question, we will need to look internally at the company's data collection within their own statistics for how many delivery requests per day they received. We should take a look at the data dating back to at least 12 months, preferably 18 months, to get a large data pool. We will want to upload or import this data into Excel so we can then filter by the day of the week to identify any trends. How will this data be presented and displayed? I think the best way to present this data is with a bar graph or visual aids. I also think it's very important that the audience knows how this data was pulled and how it was manipulated. The audience must also know the data source. Here is an example bar graph that I've created as a visual aid. You can see that on one axis, you have the days of the week as the categorical data, Monday through Sunday. And then on the other axis, we have the numerical data, which stands for the number of deliveries per day. Just visually looking at this data, you can see that there are no deliveries on Sunday, and that Wednesday is one of the lower deliveries per day when we look at the week as a whole. This presents the data very clear, and you are easily able to identify which days have the lowest number of deliveries as opposed to other days. Incorporating more data. In addition to the data pulled through the company's internal data collection system, I think in order to make a strategic business decision, it would be smart to check the data of direct competitors. This data, depending on if the company is public or private, may be available for purchase or free of charge and obtainable through a few clicks online. I would take the data of our competitors and compare it to our internal data before making a business decision on how many drivers the company should schedule each day of the week. How will this data analysis help with the overall strategic business decision? Instead of making assumptions or uneducated guesses on how many delivery drivers should be scheduled for each day of the week, we can use real-life historical data to help better determine that optimal number. The data that we're pulling serves extremely useful in the sense that it's coming directly from the company and is extremely accurate and relatable to the problem that we are trying to solve. The data sets can help us as data scientists and managers be more efficient and help to eliminate overstaffing and directly identify the problem of possible understaffing. Thought process. Although it's important to take into consideration all of the various questions as listed in the beginning of this presentation, the thought process for solving the strategic business decision above and answering the main question also above is as follows. We should pull internal data dating back 12 to 18 months, looking at how many deliveries were made per day. Then export those into Excel and filter the deliveries by days of the week. Then we need to total up the number of deliveries per day and per week. We need to take a look and see if there are any trends. Are there any days where the deliveries are way down? Are there any days where the deliveries are extremely high? How many deliveries were scheduled that did not get processed? Thought process continued. We need to lay out the data and talk through possible reasons as to why the data is relayed as such. After looking through our own data, we would have a good idea of how many delivery drivers we should have scheduled each day based off our own historical data and analyzing that data to make a sound business decision. However, that is surface level. We may find while looking through this data a bigger question for us to ask ourselves. Can we improve on the routes? Can we improve on delivery windows? Can we upgrade our information technology systems? Can we hire more drivers and obtain more trucks? Should we stop delivering on Wednesdays and save resources that day due to slowing? We will also want to take a look at our competitors and see what's working for them. Going further, if we analyze the data set with the fine comb, we can also determine the optimal staffing levels during holiday seasons and even months throughout the year where sales and deliveries are at a surge. It's possible with data analytics that we can also determine these staffing levels for future needs based off of algorithms and better predictors as opposed to estimates. If we can create an algorithm that can be flexible and learn the company's business practices and even assist with determining the best routes, we could eventually have a system that ultimately tells management the required staffing levels per week or even per day, based off of the incoming orders and required future deliveries. Machine learning. I think that we can use machine learning in this scenario. The system that generates the routes for deliveries can learn how to better connect addresses and divvy up the deliveries among all drivers, thus making the routes more efficient. The outcome for this would either be making the routes more efficient so the company needs less drivers, or the company would be able to hire more drivers and deliver more packages per day. As Eric Segal states in his Dr. Data Show video, even lousy predictions are super valuable. Just predicting better than guessing helps organizations improve decision-making at a massive scale. The machine's got to take into consideration all the dozens or hundreds of factors known about a case situation or individual. When you give the computer training data, then the machine learning discovers what it can from that data. It's an automatic trial and error process that derives and tries out and keeps on modifying and improving patterns or formulas that will help predict what the future outcome will be. In this way, the computer is basically programming itself. End solution. After looking through a year and a half of historical data based off of number of deliveries per day, we will be able to see if there is a day of the week in which deliveries are higher or lower than others. If the number of deliveries are higher on a certain day, I would increase the number of delivery drivers for those days. If the number of deliveries are lower on a certain day, I would decrease the number of delivery drivers for those days and even consider making it a non-delivery day, depending on how low the numbers are. I think it would be strategic to re-pool and re-look at this data once every 2 months to reevaluate the optimal number needed for delivery drivers based on sales, number in deliveries, and business growth. Here is my bibliography for the sources that I included in this presentation. Thank you.